This program contains dramatizations of real people and events. Some names and locations have been changed. This program is for mature audiences only. It contains graphic images which may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. In California, a single mother is ripped from her children's arms. Police ask a psychic to help find her.
I knew that she had not died instantly. I knew that she was alive, God rest her soul, when he left her.
In New York State, a mother struggles to find her abducted children, working with a sympathetic cop and a devoted psychic.
She was so terrified. And I was her link to maybe believing that the children were alive and that maybe she would see them again.
When clues are scarce and answers elusive, investigators sometimes turn to a psychic witness. "65 miles northeast of San Francisco lies the small town of Dixon, California. The area's rich farmland is mostly cultivated by migrant workers. It's a friendly place where everyone seems to know everyone else. One well-known resident, single mother Rosa Talamantes. Rosa has to work hard to provide for her kids. And though they struggle to make ends meet, her family is a loving one, according to Dixon Police Detective Elaine Perry.
When you'd see her walking around town, she almost looked somewhat solemn. But in talking with her, you could get her to smile, you could get her to laugh. She was a single mother, and she was very devoted to that.
In the mid-1990s, Rosa becomes involved with a local migrant worker named Jose Navarro Aniquez. He helps with the bills, but when he drinks, he gets violent. In May 1995, Rosa tries to find a way to end the relationship.
They can take care of themselves. We'll be right back.
On May 23rd, after an argument, Jose suddenly asks Rosa to go with him to buy more beer. Alone.
One of the children asked to go along, and Mr. Navarro said no. And at that point, they then left. That's the last time the children saw their mother.
The next morning, the children wake to find their mom hasn't returned. They try to carry on with their normal routine. Rosa taught them to cherish their education, but they're scared. When the eldest sister, Elisa, arrives to take care of the baby for the day, she hears about her mother.
Didn't come back.
What?
She didn't come back.
Okay. Hector?
This is more important than getting to school on time.
Did you this morning? Yep. Okay.
Elisa and her brother drive out to the labor camp where Jose lives. He's drunk again and swears he doesn't know where Rosa is.
I don't know.
She's missing. We're going to the...
Still, he agrees to go get his ID, then meet the kids at their home so they can all report Rosa missing to police. But he never shows up. When Jose fails to arrive, the worried family turns to a relative. Police Sergeant Martin Ruiz of the nearby college town of Davis.
My initial thought was that perhaps he beat her up, left her somewhere, and that she would show up.
went to the house
Then
today.
the more serious thought was that maybe he did something more serious to her.
But the case is out of his jurisdiction. Ruiz tells Elisa
Okay,
to
I will.
file a missing persons report with the Dixon police. While she's doing that, he'll go out as a private citizen to hunt for Rosa. At the Dixon Police Department,
Elisa, go ahead.
Elisa meets
Sit
with
down.
Detective Perry.
She was extremely upset and worried because the absence of her mother was something that was totally unusual.
I went
Her
to
mother
my
was
mother's
always
house
there to take the children to
in the
school.
morning time to take care of my baby sister.
Have you ever seen him push your mom around?
He does.
I
And he has
felt that
age-
there was something certainly amiss because I did know her to be a concerned and devoted mother.
She would never stay out all night. In the
Rosa
daylight.
has only been missing for a few hours,
Give me your phone
but the
number.
detective takes immediate action,
Anything comes in.
faxing a missing persons report to all area law enforcement. When she runs Jose's name, she finds he's wanted for failing to appear on an old DUI charge.
Because of the fact that this is the last person that Rosa was seen with, that does lay some suspicion on him. And the fact that he had agreed to come to the police department to talk to us, however, he never arrived. That again was somewhat suspicious.
Within the hour, Sergeant Ruiz arrives at Jose's labor camp.
I went out looking for Rosa really more than anything else.
But there's no sign of Rosa or Jose. Then, a local farmer shows up at the police station, saying one of his workers might have killed someone.
But really hurt somebody bad.
He says earlier that day, Jose Navarro Aniquez approached his foreman. Jose reeked of alcohol. He said he needed to go to Mexico right away and wanted his pay now. Jose tried to intimidate the foreman, bragging he killed someone the night before. The Rosa Talamantes investigation evolves from a missing persons case to a possible homicide. And the prime suspect is headed to Mexico.
If he was to go to Mexico, it would be extremely difficult, if at all possible, to have him extradited back here.
Police scramble to find Jose and soon call in a psychic to help them find the truth about what happened to a beloved mother.
He knew she was trying to get away, and he wasn't going to allow that. He wasn't going to be rejected.
On May 23, 1995, single mother Rosa Talamantes goes missing in Dixon, California. The suspect, Rosa's boyfriend Jose Navarro Aniquez, tells others he's headed to Mexico.
I head to St. Peter last night.
Dixon police go to look for Jose at the labor camp where he lives, according to Lieutenant Don Malloy.
We looked around the area and didn't see any signs of foul play or anything that would seem out of the ordinary.
To their surprise, Jose appears. He says he knows nothing about Rosa and doesn't want to talk to any cops.
When he got out and we went to contact him, we noticed a strong odor of alcohol in his breath.
They arrest him for drunk driving, glad to keep him from fleeing the country.
We were fortunate when we arrested him that he had a prior warrant for a DUI. The district attorney's office managed to get his bail increased to $100,000, not only because of the prior charges, but because of the flight risk to Mexico.
Police also impound his car. They hope he'll talk once he sobers up. Officers comb the area, hoping to find Rosa alive. They're aided by relatives, including Davis Police Sergeant Martin Ruiz.
Family and friends are coming together. Everybody wants to search for her. They organize search parties. Everybody's walking the ditches and drainage areas along most of the area around the ranch where Iniguez was staying.
They search all day and through the night, yet find no sign of Rosa. The next morning, Lieutenant Malloy and Detective Elaine Perry search Jose's car. In the front, they find a woman's ring set with 7 birthstones. The family identifies it as Rosa's. 7 stones, 1 for each of her kids. In a garbage bag in back, a man's shirt.
When Lieutenant Malloy pulled this shirt out of the bag, it appeared that there was blood on the front of the shirt.
Rosa's ring and a bloody shirt. Hopes are fading fast. With Jose now sober, the interrogation begins. Jose admits he and Rosa went out to buy beer that night,
She wanted to walk home.
but makes the dubious claim she walked home from the store.
How am I supposed to know where she went after?
We just found that hard to believe. You know, Dixon being a small community, that no one had seen Rosa walking.
Investigators confront him about the shirt.
We found this in your car.
He did confirm that the stains were blood, but then he denied knowing how the blood stains got on his shirt.
Detective Perry tries appealing to Jose's emotions.
We've got these children, and they're missing their mom, and they're upset, they're crying. If you have any information for us at all, could you please, give us that information? And he stood firm on the fact that he last saw her walking away from the car.
Sergeant Ruiz has no leads. Then his assistant suggests calling a psychic who has helped on other cases.
Say she's good?
Ruiz is willing to do anything to find Rosa.
When an incident like that affects you directly, you start considering options that professionally normally I wouldn't consider.
Oscar.
And this was a way of, if nothing else, being able to tell the girls, look, we're doing everything that we possibly can.
Ruiz contacts Dr. Sally Heading, a San Francisco psychic who specializes in helping law enforcement. He tells her his sister-in-law Rosa is missing, and her boyfriend was the last one to see her.
I sensed immediately that she was afraid of this boyfriend, and I asked the sergeant had she been trying to disengage herself from this relationship.
I thought, well, okay, so Sally hit on one.
I got a strong sense of fear and a lot of violence around this man's energy. And I told him that I was sorry to say this, but that I felt pretty strongly that she had died that night, that it was his intent to come over and get her and end her life.
Ruiz asks for details of the murder.
And when I'm going on the other side and I'm trying to get information, it's whirring by so fast, there'll be images that just flash by, boom, 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 like pictures, like a slideshow that's going by real fast. But the energy with those slides is so strong that once it flashes by your eye, you don't forget it. It's locked in.
Sally sees a desperate struggle and feels Rosa's terror.
Was she afraid of this man? Terrified out of her mind. She pleaded for her life. She pleaded and begged because she's got these children. And it falls on deaf ears. He didn't care. He laughed at her. He didn't care. Do with this, he didn't.
Sally can't see the location of Rosa's body, but she tells Ruiz he must go back to Jose's labor camp and keep asking questions.
I'm glad you can give me some help.
Sally said, you need to go out there and talk to people at the ranch. They're going to stonewall you, but you have to keep insisting.
You're going to feel very discouraged when you go back to your car. Have heart. Look down at your pants before you get in your car, because the cuffs are going to be covered with thistle. The star thistle is a way of showing him You're not lost. You're on track. It's going to take the second time going back.
Following Sally's advice, Sergeant Ruiz and Lieutenant Malloy go back out to the labor camp where Jose lives.
We talked to a couple of fellas that were in the barracks. It wouldn't say much to us.
Ask you guys a couple questions if you could.
Both men claim they didn't see or hear anything unusual the night Rosa disappeared.
No, he don't live here. Me and my partner live here.
As Sally predicted, Ruiz is being stonewalled. Then he sees the sign Sally foretold.
When I came back out to the car in the small gravel parking lot area, I looked down and I did have a number of thistles on my socks and pants. You just look at that, you acknowledge it, and you go, dang, how could she have known?
Ruiz is on the right track, but more obstacles and another stunning vision lie ahead. In Dixon, California, police search for Rosa Talamantes. They suspect her boyfriend, Jose Navarro Aniquez, harmed her. But he's not talking. Neither are his co-workers. Rosa's brother-in-law, Sergeant Martin Ruiz, consults psychic Sally Heading. Before he tells her anything, she describes the co-workers he tried to interview.
She said, wait, one of them was a stocky, very evil-looking man with tattoos on his body. And now, how could she know that?
When Sally tries to envision Rosa, she keeps hearing a name, Puerto. Ruiz recalls a creek near the home of the prime suspect.
The place where he lived is about, I guess, a quarter to a half mile from a creek, which is called Puerto Creek. And perhaps this is what Sally was thinking.
He presses her for more details. Sally catches fleeting images of Rosa's final moments.
There's stab wounds. I believe he cut her throat. I knew that she had not died instantly. I knew that she was alive, God rest her soul, when he left her. I also knew she would be in the fetal position. So I'm sure
Sally tells Ruiz that Rosa's body will be found in a ditch near the creek, curled in a fetal position.
I understand.
She encourages the detective to return to the labor camp and question more people there. At the camp, Ruiz talks with another worker, asking if he saw anything on the night in question.
Maybe 2 days ago.
The man says he did.
Around 10 o'clock with some woman.
He saw Jose with Rosa. They were arguing and drove off together.
Where you want to play? Like an hour
The
later,
witness says Jose returned an hour later,
room by himself.
this time alone. His statement punches a hole in Jose's story. But for a conviction, police still need to find Rosa's body. And her children need the truth.
Jose, tell me where my mother is.
In a desperate attempt to get it,
I don't know.
Rosa's eldest daughter,
Tell
Elisa,
us where she
takes
is
one of the
so we
younger
can give her
kids to
decent
plead with
burial.
Jose.
I have no idea.
Look at her. She doesn't have a mother because of you. Look at her. Do you see her? Tell us where she is.
I don't know.
Police continue to search for Rosa's body. Dixon Police Lieutenant Don Malloy
A psychic told the family members that Rosa's body would be found near Puerto Creek in a ditch or in a waterway. So based on that information, we used cadaver dogs in the areas that we had intended to search. It was really important to me to find her body. I wanted to do that for the kids. They were little kids, and they wanted their mom.
The blistering heat rises above 100, but dozens of volunteers join the search.
What was really amazing to me is that people were coming out to help, in spite of all those adverse conditions. It touched me personally because I think a lot of times we underestimate the caring and the interest in the community.
Yet in the end, the massive search fails to find the missing woman. Everyone in Dixon knows about Rosa, and they all keep an eye out for her. Then, a month after her disappearance, a farm worker spots something. A body lying in a roadside ditch.
The location and the circumstances of the body being found, I just knew in my heart it had to be Rosa.
Authorities process the scene, not far from Puerto Creek. It's an adult female, curled in the fetal position, just as Sally Heading predicted.
The clothing matched what she had been wearing. It was devastating to know that now these children were going to go on throughout their life without their mother.
But now, Rosa can finally come home. The pathologist determines Rosa's throat was cut, again matching Sally's vision. Recovering their mother's body allows the children to try to begin to heal.
The loss is irreplaceable. So they took it very hard. The whole process through the funeral was hard, but a lot of relief in it. You were finally able to say goodbye to your loved one. And as much as you don't want that person to be gone, she is.
Sally Heading relays a message from Rosa to her kids.
She wanted closure for her family, for her children. And I believe that she did everything she could to fight to get through to me for that. This is a woman who would have fought like a wild woman for her children. That was her world, these children.
The man who took her away, Jose Navarro Niquez, fights the charges, but is convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 16 years to life.
And I pray he never, ever gets out. Ever. Because I believe from what I saw of his energy, he is a psychopath. He feels very justified in what he did.
The Talamantes children still lovingly maintain the memorial to the mother they lost. On the other side of the country, the story's reversed, with a loving mother desperate to find her own kids. Upstate New York is for many the perfect place to raise children. It's quiet, rural, and safe. But it has its share of disputes, like Frank and Tara Danvers in a bitter divorce in 1978. In the settlement, Tara gets the house, child support, and custody of the children. Angry, Frank Danvers files an immediate appeal.
We'll postpone judgment until after the appeals process is over.
The appellate court rules in Tara's favor, upholding the settlement. But when she arrives at the house, it's locked tight.
He had nailed all the windows on the first story shut, so I couldn't get in. When I did get in by breaking a window, the entire house had been cleaned out of anything that was worthwhile.
Tara is in shadows to protect her real identity.
All of our paintings were gone, all the silver, all the good dinnerware, everything was gone.
Sharon! Angela! Brian!
And the kids were gone.
Tara is stunned. But Frank wouldn't take them forever. Would he?
I waited for him for a couple of days, thinking, well, they just went down to the beach, or they, went to the mountains to just cool off, and he would be back, on the weekend. And when the weekend came, and he didn't come, I knew he wasn't coming back.
The police are sympathetic, but not much help. This is 1978. Children taken by a parent are not a priority. Tara checks with Frank's friends, family, and employer. But nobody's seen him.
You're sure?
The resources that were available to me were very, very minute at the time. So I had to kind of find my own way. There was no internet at the time. And it was whatever I could think of to see if I could find the kids.
As a billing clerk for a medical supply company, Tara has access to a list of every hospital in the country.
And I made a flyer of my own, of each one of the kids' pictures, their description, a description of Frank, and I sent it to hospitals thinking one of the kids would get hurt or sick or something. You have 3 kids, no one doesn't get hurt or sick in some kind of time frame. So I did that. Other than that, I was at a loss.
None of the hospitals respond. No sign of the kids or the man who snatched them away. Tara is sick with worry. With each passing day, it will be harder and harder to find her children.
Child support will be
Angry
awarded.
with the terms of his divorce, Frank Danvers abducts his own children. At the time, police do not consider parental abductions a priority. So Tara Danvers tries everything she can to find her kids on her own. After 2 frustrating weeks, she finally finds a cop willing to help.
Here are the pictures.
When she meets Sergeant Lou Masterbone at a local sheriff's office.
Angela's son.
She told me that the children were taken and she had no idea where they were. And she wanted me to help her. And I said, of course, whatever you want me to do.
The sergeant gets a warrant for Frank's arrest and tries to place an alert on a nationwide police network. But the network has no provision for parental abductions.
We couldn't enter it in the computer for missing children. There's a lot of things that they have today that back then we didn't have.
Masterbone continues with old-fashioned police legwork.
We tried school records, we tried banks, we tried everything. And we're coming up dead ends all over the place on this.
Finally, Tara gets a call from the kid's pediatrician, who says Frank asked for the kid's records to be sent to an address just outside Youngstown, Ohio.
Thank you so much.
Tara and the sergeant head out immediately. The address is at a trailer park in a bad part of town.
And it was a really scary place. Nowhere that I thought that he would have been or the kids should have been.
And by now, they're gone.
Frank Danvers and 3 children. Sorry.
No forwarding address.
Let me give you my car.
Frank's run off again.
He was always on the move. constantly on the move with these children.
Masterbone tries to keep up. He begins surveillance on Frank's mother, who claims no contact with Frank.
And this just went on and on and on for quite a while. You know, I used to go there a couple nights a week and just hoping, to no avail.
Then, 2 months after the abduction, an officer in Fairglen, Arizona, spots an unfamiliar car with New York plates. When he does a routine check on the plates, he learns there's a New York warrant for the owner, Francis Danvers. Dispatch contacts Masterbone.
We tell them the situation that we have, that the mother's frantic and we want to locate the children of the marriage. The father took them on a parental kidnapping, and would they please go to the house and advise us if they were there?
Hi, you Frank Danvers?
The officer talks with Frank, but he can't take him into custody on a New York warrant. He tells him to stay put.
Do you understand this?
Yeah, I understand.
Tara catches the next flight to Arizona.
I was absolutely elated. I thought, oh, good, this 3 months is over. We're gonna be back being a family again.
With the court's custody order in hand, Tara and a local attorney rush to Frank's Arizona apartment.
I had a feeling when we were driving that he wouldn't be there. He was way too smart. And he knew I'd be on his tail. By the time I got to the apartment that he had rented,
I'm very sorry,
it
ma'am.
was vacated again. He had just disappeared. He was gone. It was like he was off the face of the earth, and I had no information whatsoever.
Tara's children could be anywhere. Then Tara learns what Frank's been saying about her.
He told the rental agent on the property that I was in a mental institution, and that's why he had the 3 kids.
It's almost too much for Tara to bear.
I didn't know what to do. I was beyond myself. How to go about looking for him. Where would he go?
When I was little,
Just when everything seems hopeless,
they would occur.
Tara's mother hears a radio program featuring psychic Nancy Orlen Weber.
Come home from work and I'd say,
She called me at work and told me that she had just heard this psychic who looks for lost children and that I should give her a call. And it wasn't reluctantly, but it was with a lot of fear. I've been down the road where people say they would help me and nothing ever came of it, you know. At the same time, I was clinging to any shred of help that anybody would give me.
hello? Oh, I said,
yes.
I'll give it
This
a
is-
try. I'd be happy to help. I have no idea what I can do.
The mother called me up and asked me if I would accompany her to see the psychic. And I said, what? And she says, yeah, I want to go to a psychic. I said, are you kidding me? She says, no, we've done everything else.
Masterbone agrees, though he's still wary.
And the mother and I were invited in, and we went up to the 3rd floor for a seance. And I'm saying to myself, what am I doing here? This is stupid.
I just don't go for this
He
stuff.
said,
But
you know, I'm very
because of
skeptical
what we've been
about
through,
all this. I don't believe in any of this. But let's see what you got.
I'm a skeptic.
I liked him immediately because he was right up front.
I have no idea.
He probably thought I had a cauldron and a crystal ball and a turban on my head and would turn him into a frog. He still came because he cared that much. His only desire was to bring those babies home. That's all he cared about.
Nancy's warm, relaxed manner soon sets Masterbone at ease. She tries to get a reading on Frank and the kids through photos.
Oh, you know, I'm seeing something. I know.
Nancy assures Tara that according to her vision, Frank will not harm the kids. He's out to hurt her,
They're okay.
not them.
And I need to tell you something. I feel strongly they're coming home.
I don't say those things most of the time. I hate saying outcomes beforehand, but I had to with her.
They're alive, and they feel okay to me.
She gave me the courage to keep going, because there were a lot of times when I just felt like giving up, that he was way too smart for me, that, how do you find 3 kids in the United States,
I get a map in my head. I'll be right back, okay? Okay, take a deep breath.
Nancy amazes them when she pinpoints Frank's flight to Arizona, which they hadn't told her about.
So, let's take a look. Let's take a look. It's towards the west, because that's what I'm seeing, so bear with me.
I'm seeing her ex-husband pile them into a car and drive away, far away. And I'm following it in my mind, looking.
I get the western
Then,
part.
she sees the city, Fairglen.
I stared at her and I said, "You gotta be kidding me." I almost fell out of the chair. She had no knowledge of this case whatsoever, nothing.
They were there?
I mean, there's no way that she could make that up. Not many people ever heard of that city. So from that point on, I believed anything she was gonna tell me. She had me at that point.
Frank hasn't.
Tara presses for information about the kids' health. Nancy senses they're okay, except
One of them was taken to the emergency room and had stitches on the upper lip. I said it was a dog bite, and it's not rabies or anything. The kid will be fine. Tiny little scar.
I was totally fearful. It was very difficult to think that one of the kids had gotten hurt.
Tara needs to know where they are, how she can find them.
They're doing fine. As fine as they can without you.
And then I shoot over to this man's mother. Wait a minute. She's got checks, canceled checks, with where he is, sitting on her desk.
Nancy thinks Frank's mother's canceled checks are the key, but that's all she knows at this point. She hopes more will come soon. 6 months after the abduction, a grief-stricken Tara Danvers spends a lonely Christmas without her beloved children.
And that was the worst time of the year for her, not having her children for the holidays. It was terrible.
But Tara will never give up. And soon, Nancy Orlen Weber will have a vision of startling accuracy and see the next step in a heartbreaking chase across the country. After 7 months, Tara Danvers' children are still missing from their New York State home. Snatched by their father, Frank Danvers. Psychic Nancy Orlen Weber sees Frank has gone as far as Arizona, and that canceled checks from Frank's mother will eventually help Tara find the kids. But nothing else, so far. Tara and Sergeant Lou Masterbone return for a second reading, asking Nancy for more details.
She was so terrified, with every right to be. And I was her link to maybe believing that the children were alive and that maybe she would see them again.
Nancy focuses, using a photo of the kids to try to connect to them.
I'm seeing his door. I'm seeing the children.
She sees the eldest girl forced to do all the housework.
She's doing all the work.
She senses that the kids are unharmed, but missing their mother's care.
I saw them in clothes that were too tight. I saw them in shoes too tight. I saw them not going to school now.
Hey, kids! Put the...
She also sees Frank.
Clean that up. What did I tell you? Now.
He wasn't violent with them. But he didn't really want them so much as he wanted them away from her.
They could be anywhere in the country by now. Nancy senses they're somewhere in Florida.
I'm being pulled to...
And I said, where? She goes, it starts with an R. And I just stared at her. I said, you gotta be kidding me.
I said, well, I see the water, I see the ocean, it's near it. I'm getting a street. I see E Street.
Letter E, I'm seeing.
I know E Street. What town?
Suddenly, Nancy's dog Ramona appears in the room as if summoned.
Ramona looks up at me, and I looked at her and I went, Ramona. Figuring, what does she want?
The sergeant asks if she means Ramona, Florida. Nancy has learned the answers can be carried by the most unexpected energies.
That's sometimes how it occurs for me, paying attention to the energy in the entire world.
She thinks that's where they are. There is a Ramona, Florida, and it has an E Street. Then the subpoena for Frank's mother's bank statements comes through, revealing canceled checks to Frank and a stunning detail.
She was dealing him out money monthly that he had hoarded prior to our divorce. There was checks written to him, and stamped on the back was the bank stamp.
The Ramona Bank refuses to release Frank's address without a warrant, but Tara's not willing to wait.
13 months had transpired for me, for my kids being missing. And in that time, I had learned that some people wanted to help me and some didn't. And I learned that sometimes you had to lie a little.
She calls the bank, pretending to be Frances Danvers, Frank's conveniently unisex name, and gets the address. Number 73, E Street, Ramona, Florida.
My teeth almost fell out. It was like, oh my God. Nancy was right.
I called Sheriff's Department, and I begged them to go out there.
They immediately send an officer, but it's too late.
Cops called me back about 3 hours, 4 hours later and said, I got good news and I have bad news. I said, hit me with the bad news. They left. But the good news is I have an address.
It's on the island of Puerto Rico.
I said, you're kidding. He slipped up. He finally slipped up and left the forwarding address.
Hi, Tara.
I called Nancy. I said, when I go, they're going to be there?
Yes.
And she said, yes, this is it.
I had these great images. And what I saw was like a calendar. Friday, 4 p.m., an arch, 3 children walking through it. Children are walking under an arch.
I couldn't stop crying for a long time after she told me that. Especially since she had told me where they were living in Ramona was exactly where they were.
But it won't be over until Tara has her kids back in her arms. And Frank Danvers is not about to make it easy. When Frank Danvers abducts his children, psychic Nancy Orlen Weber tracks him to Ramona, Florida. But he disappears before police arrive, fleeing to Puerto Rico. Sergeant Lou Masterbone uncovers Frank's unlisted number in Puerto Rico. He warns Tara Danvers not to call. It could scare Frank away again. It's a heart-wrenching dilemma.
They had been gone so long, I just couldn't stand. I couldn't wait anymore.
Hello?
And she just kept saying, hello, hello. And I couldn't say anything back because I couldn't let her know it was me.
Hello?
And I just hung up. But I knew I had them. And it was the first time in months I'd spoken to them.
3 times before, Tara has rushed to her kids, only to have them disappear. She hopes this time she'll find them. Masterbone applies for an extradition warrant, putting his professional reputation on the line.
And I said, Judge, I want a warrant to extradite the father. He said, on what basis? I said, on the basis of a psychic. And he looked at me and said, Louis, I want more. I said, Your Honor, I'm begging you, sign this warrant. I went to the psychic and I told him the whole story, and I said, we have a verified address. He signed the warrant.
By now, Tara's finances are exhausted, and she spends several agonizing days scraping together the money for the flight to Puerto Rico. When she finally gets there, it's Friday, the day Nancy predicted. Puerto Rico police go to pick Frank up. He's not there. But it doesn't look like they've moved out. Police set up surveillance in case Frank returns. At the police station, the waiting is unbearable. After half an hour, the police finally spot Frank Danvers and the kids. Tara is beside herself with anxiety. Then, at exactly 4 p.m., her children
It was like nothing I can ever describe. I wanted to put my arms around them and put like a cape around them so that when I walk out of here, no one's gonna see them and to take them away again. I told him the truth, that I was searching for them every day for 14 months, which he told them I wasn't doing.
And with a psychic's help, she's found them. The day, the time, the place, exactly as Nancy Orlen Weber predicted.
4 o'clock, her children walked through an arch into her arms. I cried and cried. I still cry over it. Those children got back where they belonged, with their mother. And they did belong with her. She was wonderful with them. Good, kind, caring, nurturing person.
In a shocking move, a New York prosecutor drops the charges against Frank, claiming it's too expensive to extradite him from Puerto Rico. Remarkably, he walks away completely free. Tara Danvers maintains custody of her kids and raises them on her own. It's all she wanted all along. One mother, killed for no reason, kept alive in her children's memory. Another mother, reunited with her own kids after too long. Both assisted by cops who care and by psychics who use their gifts to help families heal.